did you make me do this? You're fighting so you can watch everyone around you die. Think, Mark!
In the words of some dead philosopher of a long gone by age, a meme truly is worth 10,000 words. The moment Omni-Man appears on screen, you know he is the villain. Maybe it was just me, but Omni-Man killing all the Guardians of the Globe at the end of the first episode didn't really surprise me. I'll be honest, I went into this show rather lukewarm, not expecting much, and the beginning didn't show much promise either. Blood and gore just don't do it for me, like, at all. I feel nothing. I like to think of it as my superpower, though my doctor insists on calling it mental illness. But anyhow, once you get past the blood and guts, and the contrived relationship drama, and the bottled water industry propaganda, there is something there that I feel is worth talking about. Where something like The Boys takes a more direct route in its social commentary by simply coming out and saying, haha, Nazi lady small pp, I think there's something to be said about the virtue of subtlety. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we just had politicians openly proclaiming they want to do genocide? I feel like I didn't say that right, but you get what I meant. Determining right from wrong would be so much easier if we had people chanting reopen Auschwitz and Heil Hitlering out in the street, but life is not that simple. Never mind. What I'm clearly struggling to say is fascism is bad isn't a particularly controversial take, which is why I feel so confident proclaiming it right after quadrupling my sub count. Thank you guys, by the way, and welcome. What makes Invincible so refreshing is that it manages to offer a highly critical commentary on today's political discourse without ever getting bogged down with impersonating real-life politicians. And it does that by asking one very simple question. What does it mean to be a hero? After Mark gets his powers, he chooses his superhero name to be Invincible, and then proceeds to get his ass handed to him by the school bully, by his father, by green aliens, yellow aliens, gray aliens, and then his father once again, just for good measure. Did you get the joke yet? He named himself Invincible, but he keeps getting beat up.
Right, since it's kind of a normal name and not something like...
Invincible?
Invincible, yeah.
Very humorous. And sure, if you think about being invincible in the traditional sense of the word, Mark is not it. He has amazing superpowers compared to you and me, but in a world of giant cat people wielding golden maces, Mark is generally quite pathetic. And while you could ascribe this discrepancy entirely to comedic irony, I would like to point out that despite losing every single battle, in the end, Invincible is the one who is left standing as Earth's last defender.
Oh, alright, good. Sounds good.
Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. If you ever spent any time on the internet, you probably heard this quote before. It is one of those cleverly worded sentences that spread through social media like wildfire because of how profound and thought-provoking they sound. It is simple, yet it seems to so accurately describe all of human history. But sadly, if you think about it for more than a minute, you might notice it is in fact a garbage sentence used exclusively in order to manufacture your agreement with whatever cause the speaker wants you to die for. The prescription here is obvious, that men should be strong, but what exactly does that mean is suspiciously left to your interpretation. Now, I won't sit up here and pretend like words have no meaning whatsoever. After all, we do live in a society. There is unfortunately an image that pops in all of our heads when we hear the words strong men. An image that might as well be perfectly clear in our minds, but if you tried to define it, you would most likely find yourself needing an entire video essay to do it. A few weeks ago, I watched Wrath of Man. In the movie, Jason Statham plays a mysterious Chad with a cool-sounding name.
He's H. Like the bomb.
Who gets a job at a money transportation company. On his first day, his truck is attacked, but instead of doing the sensible thing and surrendering the money, Jason Statham goes full #1 victory royale.
We got a #1 victory royale, yeah, Fortnite, we about to get down. 10 kills on the board right now, just wiped out Tomato Town. My friend just gone down, I revived him, now we're heading southbound. Now we're in the Pleasant Park streets, look at the map, go to the mark sheet.
Throughout the movie, he becomes such a meme that robbers simply run away at the mere sight of him. Now, while all of this does make me jizz my pants at how incredibly cool he is, I wouldn't really say that being a real-life Terminator is enough to make one a strong man. There is a flashback scene in the movie in which Jason Statham talks with his ex-wife after their son gets brutally murdered in a previous money truck robbery. And she says something along the lines of, "What do you have to say for yourself? You just sit there with a blank expression on your face. Your son is dead and you still can't say anything." And then she leaves crying like the hysterical femoid that she is. And while watching this scene and thinking about Invincible, I realized that Omni-Man, or Jason Statham, or any other manly male hero for that matter, aren't strong men because of the size of their biceps or their underdeveloped zygomaticus major. No, what makes men strong in the eyes of their peers is their ability to endure pain. Every hero, anti-hero, or relatable villain in all of history appears to be doomed to suffer. From Hercules and his 12 tasks over Raskolnikov and his conscience, to Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, Black Panther, Spider-Man, and the list just goes on and on and on. We in the industry call this conflict. There is no story without conflict, and all the characters needed in order to grow and become the best versions of themselves they can be. This is considered basic knowledge. And for those lucky characters who got off scot-free and don't have to struggle or suffer to achieve their goals, we actually gave them a special name. 2 words so infamous, so triggering, so utterly without reproach that the very idea of uttering them sends shivers down my spine. I am of course talking about the Mary Sue. The situation has even gotten so bad that you can be a warmongering maniacal purple man with a testicle chin who is hellbent on murdering half the life in the galaxy, and all it takes for us to like you is throwing your daughter off a cliff. Don't you find it at least a little bit weird that we all felt a strange form of respect for Thanos after Infinity War because he was willing to sacrifice Gamora to achieve his twisted goal? You see, it is not simply suffering that earns respect. Billions suffer every day all around the world for billions of different reasons we don't really care about. But if one willingly chooses pain, knowingly sacrifices themselves or someone they care about, that is what we recognize as true strength.
Bugs, that's the least loony thing you've ever done.
Omni-Man's muscles may be quite impressive and his mustache is certainly imposing, but many beta cucks go to the gym and can grow a little facial hair. What makes Omni-Man impressive is his devotion and the sacrifices he was willing to make. Alone for 17 years, a million light years from home, deep inside enemy territory, surrounded by alien people who, if they knew the truth, would try their best to kill him. He has no one to talk to, no one he can trust, no one to confide into, locked inside his head, with a mask over his face. Him against the world. Now don't get me wrong, reading, watching, or listening about people who willingly jumped into the deepest hells only to conquer the highest mountains is certainly inspiring and engaging. The hero myth is a useful tool to motivate people, give us an ideal to strive for, and the courage to fight off our enemies when necessary. However, there's an inherent problem with the hero myth we constructed. A problem that at the same time we are unwilling to acknowledge and can no longer afford to ignore. How does the hero's son live up to the legend of his father? How does one become a hero in a world with no villains? Long before Omni-Man was born, people on his home planet Viltrum decided to change their server from co-op to PvP, thereby killing half of their population.
In order for our people to reach their full potential, we had to remove the weak from our society. When it was over, our population was cut in half. But what emerged from the ashes was unstoppable.
A society of practically immortal gods who seemingly don't have to worry about disease or accidents, who can crack planets with their fists and travel anywhere in the universe without any technology. A society that has for all intents and purposes conquered death itself, just up and decided to start killing each other one day. Why?
By the time I was born, Viltrum was already the greatest empire in our galaxy. We decided to make it the only empire in our galaxy. Once I was old enough, I joined the war effort. It was hard, but I believe in our cause.
But what is the cause of the great Viltrum Empire? Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Or in other words, men should be strong, and in order to be strong, they have to suffer. Train hard to become a warrior so you can join the war, and you have to join the war because you need to train hard to become a warrior. A vicious cycle that repeats itself indefinitely. The war justifies the suffering, and the suffering justifies the war. Because the cause of the great Viltrum Empire is very simply the suffering of Viltrumites. Struggle is the father of all things. It is not by the principles of humanity that man lives or is able to preserve himself above the animal world, but solely by the means of the most brutal struggle.
This is insane!
From that first monkey who picked up the first tools some 2 million years ago, to fire, shelter, agriculture, the printing press, penicillin, the Industrial Revolution, modern medicine, air conditioning, the computer chip, and even furry porn. The world we live in has been built brick by brick, held together by the blood, sweat, and tears of the millions who suffered, so you and I don't have to. If you're watching this video, you were probably never hungry or cold, you never had to helplessly watch your friends or family die around you. You never had to cower in a basement and wonder if the next bomb will fall on your house. You never had to charge the enemy line through a rain of bullets. And inside your pocket sits a window into the entire world. And I cannot believe that I have to say this, but that's a good thing. I don't know if you needed to hear this, but there are definitely people who do. For hundreds of thousands of years, humanity lived locked in a basement. Pain, misery, and death in every shadow. But now the doors have been opened, and light is pouring in. Yet we still sit in a dark corner, clinging to the rotting corpse of our captor, in what I can only describe as the greatest Stockholm Syndrome of all time.
We are the weakest generation right now that has ever walked the face of the planet.
We are raising a generation of weak people.
How have we arrived at the death of masculine and ambitious
Grown men worrying about
There's
a
no
microaggression.
society that can survive without
Women
strong men.
want
Cut me down a
real
tree and bring me the
men.
heart of a bear instead.
America strong again.
You stand at the top of the mountain, your hands without calluses, and you look down longingly at the sharp rocks, steep cliffs, and the bones of those who didn't make it. But there is no more mountain left to climb, nothing but clear skies above you. But that doesn't mean the journey is over. It is only just beginning. There are no calluses to be earned climbing the heavens, but not because it is easier, but because it is infinitely more difficult. In a world without orcs or demons or giants to fight, in order to see yourself as the hero, you have to settle for straw men and windmills. And if you look for evil hard enough, you will always find something you can convince yourself is a threat. But what are you then but the very evil you sought out to destroy? A hero and a villain are just the two sides of the same coin. The divide between them no greater than their friends and their family. Mark fights because he wants to help people, because he cares deeply about every single person.
Almost killed him!
And in the end, he doesn't win because of his fighting skills or his intelligence or cunning. He wins because he doesn't give up, because he cannot afford to give up.
And what if they resist?
That's why we're here. To keep them from resisting. To show them how wrong they are. How pointless it is. That they can be a part of something bigger. Or die.
I won't let you.
Omni-Man fights for a cause. For his country, for his people, for his race. Ultimately, he fights for an abstract idea. And that is why he loses in the end. Because how can any idea stand against the power of love? I guess in a way we should be lucky that the fascist ideology stands on legs thinner than my arms.
Everyone you know and love will be gone before you even look 30.
So join me, and we can kill them together now. There is nothing more beta than the man who sacrifices his happiness or the happiness of those he loves for some esoteric concept, for an idea he cannot even define. The hero is always just a farm boy living a simple life, and the villain comes in with hordes to destroy and pillage. This is because when you fight for an idea, it is easy to sacrifice people in its name. To Omni-Man, life without a grand cause is meaningless. A life without struggle, a life of the weak, has no worth.
And what were they doing with those fragile little lives anyway? Listen to what I'm saying. You know in your heart I'm right.
Right? About how pathetic and pointless humanity is.
But to Mark, a happy life is all that matters.
Killed him!
Now or in 50 years when he's old, what difference does it make?
What difference? He'd have a life!
Mark doesn't want to be a hero for recognition or fame or glory. He just wants to help people. And when you fight for people, and I don't mean the idea of the people as a collective entity, but for every individual person, for your family, for your friends, for your neighbor, for your bus driver, for your teacher, for every single person around you, you will never lose. And more importantly, you will never go wrong. It might be corny, it might be sappy, you might think it's bullshit, but it's true. It is his love for his friends and his family that makes Mark truly. And it is invincible men who create good times. Good times that unfortunately give an opportunity to ideologues. And it is the ideologues that create the hard times. And it is in those hard times that invincible men are forced into action. If the age of men is to begin, the age of heroes needs to end. I don't know. Just a thought.
You want that? Did you make poo-poo?